How the fuck did I create a 25K month? I literally journaled on that question after hitting my highest income month ever. And let me assure you, I didn't use any traditional sales tactics to make this happen. In this edition of Thursday's Thought, I get real with you about my highest income month and what it took to create it. Tune into this episode and learn why I felt shame around sharing my success, my 5 steps to create a successful month, and what it really takes to attract ideal clients and draw more people into your orbit. Are you a conscious leader who is ready to lead your mission with absolute conviction? If so, I am inviting you to join me at the Activation Retreat this September in Southern California. This is an intimate and profoundly transformational 4-day retreat for leaders that will help you embody your mission, deepen your spiritual practice, and activate your voice and your gifts. There are only 12 seats total, of which a handful of seats still remain, and I will be closing enrollment next week. So if this calls to you, if it resonates with you in any way, shape, or form, please apply today. rubyfremon.com/activation-retreat. The link will also be in the show notes. Now, whether you are new to this podcast or a loyal thought leader, please make sure you take a moment to download a few episodes. Yes, I said download. And then drop a rating and review on iTunes. And thank you in advance for doing this. If you've already done this, thank you so much. I so appreciate you. Now get ready, because I'm about to share how I created a $25,000 month. Hey, thought leaders, and welcome to another edition of Thursday's Thought. And I want to start off by saying this episode isn't what I planned on making it. I decided to change the topic at the very last minute, like right before I hit record, because I realized that this topic that I'm about to share with you is one that I really truly feel called to share with you, because I know it's going to be beneficial for you. And I felt some weird shame around sharing it. And I want to discuss that a little further into the episode. So let me start out by saying that this episode is about how I created a $25,000 month. So June 2019 was my biggest month yet in business as an entrepreneur in this business that I have. It was the biggest month yet. And I say yet because I am planning on creating more months like this and more abundant months in the future, perhaps even this month. But I realized that there was a bit of shame associated with actually sharing this out loud. Now I see other people sharing about their abundant months and their income and their 10K months, 20K months, 50K months. And I'm always inspired by these things. I never have like a weird, icky feeling by it. But for some reason, I had this icky feeling about sharing my success. And I realized that it's a pattern that comes up a lot. I always feel hesitant about sharing my success. And I actually know the root of this pattern. It goes back to childhood. And in my culture, we don't share too much about our successes, because when we do, it could be we could be bestowed with bad luck. Like, this is an old wives' tale that is told in the Indian community, and so anytime we're trying to celebrate something, we're told not to celebrate too much. Whether it's like celebrating someone's beauty or celebrating someone's successes, we're told not to celebrate as much as we want, because bad things might happen. And so my entire life I've played into this pattern of not celebrating too much because of this. And so me sharing this episode with you and talking about this is me rewriting my story. And I really want to share this with you from a place of pride. Like, I'm very proud of what I was able to create and achieve and accomplish last month, and also who I was capable of becoming last month. And I feel that the way that I created this $25,000 month is very different than what other coaches or business strategists or marketing strategists are probably going to tell you. Um, so if you listen to this episode, I already know that you love doing things differently. You're very heart-centered and soul-centered and very mindful of leading your mission in the same way. So I know you're going to love what I'm about to dish out. So when it comes to creating the 25K month, it was crazy because I didn't go into June with that goal. I went into June with my standard goal, which was 10K. And I track everything. My clients know this. I encourage my clients to do the same. I track everything in what I call an abundance sheet. And it's just a Google sheet with every date of the month. And I track and I enter in all the money that comes in, whether it's through clients, whether it's through affiliate programs that I participate in, whatever it is. Like I track all the money that I have coming in, and I, for every single month of the year, have a goal. So my goal for June was the same as it's been for every month this year, and it was 10K. To be honest, I just got lazy and haven't bothered to increase that goal. So it's not like I went into June with the goal to earn 25K. I actually didn't have a financial goal for June, which I'm changing moving forward. I mean, I had 10K written down, but it wasn't like, it was just something that was already pre-filled in this document, in this Google sheet. So moving forward, I will start to create better intentions with my financial goals. But anyways, I didn't go into June with any sort of specific goal financially. I went into June with a bunch of other goals. If you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen me share them on my whiteboard, inspired by my husband, who has a whiteboard in his office with his goals. And I wrote down all my goals for the month, which included, enrolling one new one-on-one client, enrolling some ideal clients into my activation retreat, getting certain web pages completed, creating certain pieces of content. I mean, I had a lot of very, very specific goals with specific deadlines throughout the month. And I will say, now that it's July, I accomplished maybe like 80-85% of my goals. And I went above and beyond on some of them. Instead of enrolling one-on-one client, I enrolled 2 ideal one-on-one clients. I didn't enroll as many activation retreat clients as I wanted to, but I enrolled 6. So that was amazing. I created all my content. I did all these things, but I was constantly tracking what I was doing. So I was staying on top of it. And again, unaware of the financial goals. Within those goals, I also had personal goals. I want to meditate every day. I want to journal every day and really just take care of myself. I am one who is very familiar with adrenal fatigue. I have encountered it multiple times throughout my career as an entrepreneur. And this year has been no different. I've been battling with adrenal fatigue along with a few other health issues. And so for me, June, I really just wanted to be intentional with my time. I wanted to be intentional with my work, and I want to be intentional with my hustle, because I didn't want to rid myself of the hustle. I love the fire in me. The fire in me is what keeps me going in my business and helps me push myself to my limits. But I wanted to do so with intention, because I think it's really easy as entrepreneurs to get caught up in hustling, but we lose track of why we're hustling. We lose track of the intentions behind our hustle, and we just hustle for the sake of hustling. We busy ourselves for the sake of busying ourselves, and this is what drives us to the ground. This is what creates burnout. This is what creates a detachment between who we are and what we're looking to achieve. And at the end of the day, if you create a detachment between who you are, then everything you create is going to be misaligned. Everything you put out there is going to be misaligned. Your message, your service, the content, everything. So for me, June was a month of taking care of me and taking care of business. And as a very unexpected surprise at the end of the month, I earned 25K cash. Like I brought that in. Okay. So I'm also not going to do what a lot of other people do is they'll count their contracted money. If I was to count my contracted money, it would be a lot more. This is like actual cash coming in. So I don't want to waste your time. I want to dive straight into how I created the 25K month, because I think that this is the part that's going to offer you some really major takeaways into how you can start approaching your business and your leadership from a place of more soul-centered, heart-aligned work. So there were 5 things that I did, and I'm going to go into detail in each one. So step number 1 to create a 25K month for myself is I focused on delivering value to my audience and my ideal clients. I don't think that this is done enough. I think a lot of people create content from a space of what's in it for me versus what's in it for them. And for me, my focus was what's in it for them. Yes, I was creating a ton of video content for to really spark enrollments and interest for my activation retreat. And my intention for every single piece of content that I created, whether it was a video, which I did tons of videos, whether it was a post, was that every single video or post was going to have something of value for my ideal client or my audience. Because even if at the end of the day, they don't choose to apply for the activation retreat, they're going to walk away with something of value. And that's important to me. Why is this important? It's important because it creates loyalty with your audience. Your audience doesn't want to always read posts that are just about you. They want to know what's in it for you. They want to know that they can come to you for guidance. They want to come to you for advice and for tips. And I've even had a client say to me that they considered me as their digital mentor before actually hiring me as a coach. And that's what you are, right? As leaders, using your platforms for your purpose, you are digital mentors to your audience. Your audience is coming to you for something. So what are you giving them? If you're constantly giving them, or you're primarily giving them posts that are about you that really don't have any value, like real value. I'm not talking about fluffy, like inspirational shit that they can get from thousands of other Instagram posts or Pinterest. I'm talking about like real value that applies directly to them and their needs and what they're struggling with. So I focused on delivering real value to my audience and my ideal clients through everything that I was doing, whether it was a post, whether it was a video. The second thing I did was I leaned in for support. I talk about support a lot, and it's so important. I leaned in for support from my mentor. I leaned in for support from my husband, from support with my friends. I leaned in for support because this was, it's when we're on these journeys, when we're hustling, when we're doing all this shit, it's really easy to get caught up in trying to do it all alone. And that, it just doesn't make any sense. Why are we trying to do this all on our own? Why are we trying to battle our shadows and face our demons and build a business and become successful all on our own when we have people that we can lean into for support? So I really nurtured those friendships and made sure that I was leaning in for support, again, whether it was through my mentor, through my husband, through my friends, and through my journal. I did a lot of journaling this month in June. So lean in for support. The third thing I did, and this is the most important, it's the foundation of the work that I do as a coach and as a mentor, is I was devoted, absolutely devoted to my inner work. So inner work is what I call personal development, spiritual development, personal growth, spiritual growth. It was an undeniable, true devotion to my inner work, like constantly seeking to be better every single day, whether it was like mind, body, soul, or all of it, working out, taking care of myself, feeling my needs, journaling, meditating, working with my mentors, working with my shamans. I partook in another incredible plant ceremony for those of you who are new, I actually love plant medicine. And plants have been some of my greatest teachers. Don't do it unless you're called to it. That's what I'll say about that. But I was very, very devoted to my inner work. And this is what helped me shift into a space of conviction. I talk about conviction a lot, and I teach conviction with my clients because conviction is felt. When you can show up online and offline with a presence that has you truly owning your gifts, owning who you are, owning what you have to offer, like you fucking know who you are. You know the value of your gifts. You know the value of what you have to say. When you stand in that knowing, it changes the fucking game. It amplifies your attraction. It brings people, it draws people into your orbit because they also want to stand in that same conviction, because they want to learn from someone who is oozing this feeling, someone who is truly embodying their message and embodying their purpose and embodying their work. They're attracted to that more than what you have to say. And the only way to create that conviction is to be devoted to your inner work. So that's the third thing. The fourth thing I did, and this was really challenging, was that I identified and pushed through my self-imposed limitations each and every time they came up. I giggle when I talk about this because, man, even at this stage in the game, like I have a lot of self-imposed limitations. And I emphasize that because I don't want you to think that the goal is to reach this place in your career or in your being where the limitations no longer come up. No, like you want the limitations to keep going because that's a sign that you're still growing, right? If you're in your comfort zone and not challenging yourself, you're going to break through that glass ceiling, and then you're just going to stay there. When you're constantly challenging yourself to be better, to do more, to achieve more, to be more, you're constantly pushing through glass ceilings and meeting new limitations. So for me, it was about really coming face to face with what those limitations are. And I remember, I'm going to share one story about this because it's really funny. I had a goal to create all these videos, and each video delivered very, very valuable content. Steps, tips, tools for my audience. And the videos would double up as invitations to the activation retreat. So I started recording videos during the week, and I remember like, man, this would be so much easier if I just batch recorded a bunch of videos. And so I said to myself, okay, I'm going to batch record on Saturday. I'm going to record 3 videos. I had the topics listed out. There's no reason I couldn't do it. And then Saturday rolls around and I'm having like a case of like a major fucking case of the I don't wannas. Like I grudgingly get out of bed. Like it took me forever to get out of bed. I slept in. I was having major I don't wannas. It was Saturday. I didn't really want to work. I didn't want to record the videos. Like there's just so much resistance. And I think it was probably around 1:00 when I finally started recording the videos. And it took this real moment of coming face to face with my resistance. I asked myself, why am I resisting this? Because this is obviously resistance. This isn't like the I don't wannas are coming from my inner child who's like, I don't want to do this because I'm resisting what? And I realized that it was just another limitation. I was scared of creating content that wasn't going to be seen as valuable. I was scared of not creating content that looked perfect. You know, I really, if you didn't know this already, I strive for perfection. And that pursuit of perfection was really holding me back from creating, because like, what if this isn't perfect? So once I was able to come face to face with that self-imposed limitation, I could see it for what it was, and I pushed through. And that was when I just started to hit record. I banged out 3 videos. It literally only took me like a couple hours, edited them. They're ready to go for the next week. So you've got to identify and push through your self-imposed limitations. Now, the 5th step for me to create this $25,000 month, and this is one that I love and one that I think not enough people speak about, is I honored my needs. So what that meant was slower mornings. I realized that I wasn't giving myself enough time in the mornings. And I don't even mean that. I mean, I have a lot of time. I wake up at 5 a.m. I go to the gym, I come home, but I felt like I was rushing through my daily rituals. Like I'd created a habit and I had taken the ritual piece out and I was just doing things for the sake of doing things. So in June, I was very, very intentional with my mornings, really slowing down, really allowing myself the space to get into my meditations, allowing myself the space to have a solid workout, allowing myself the space to journal my heart out, allowing myself the space to get back in touch with my tarot deck. I mean, I really gave myself a lot of space because I needed it. I needed a little extra loving, a little extra self-loving on myself in the month of June. I also made sure that, part of honoring my needs was if I was really exhausted by the end of the night and I didn't have it in me to write more content despite being in a launch month. And for those of you listening who've been in launches, you know what that's like. I wouldn't force myself. I wouldn't sit at my desk and force myself to write because first of all, that would be really shitty content. And second of all, if I did that and didn't rest or give myself the rest that I needed, I would be in shit form the next day. So I really listened to my needs and I honored my needs in order to be at the top of my game throughout the month. That also included weekends. Yes, I worked quite a few weekends in the month of June, and I had boundaries with that. Like it would only be for a few hours, and then I'd make sure that I had downtime. Sometimes this means sitting on the couch and watching Netflix because I'm just so energetically depleted. Sometimes this means like going for a walk. Sometimes this means going to the gym. Sometimes this means going for a hike. Whatever it was, I made sure that I was giving myself that. So I'm going to restate the 5 steps that I took to create a 25K month, because this can also apply to you. And it doesn't have to be 25K. Okay, I'm not here to help you create a 25K month. I'm here to help you, encourage you to create whatever a successful month would look like for you, to create that. So 5 steps to make that happen. Number 1, focus on delivering real value to your audience and your ideal clients. So you have to speak to their needs, their struggles. What is it that they could walk away with and be like, wow, that was fucking amazing. So focus on delivering that real value. Number 2, lean in for support. Don't try and do this all alone. Just like my last Thursday episode, where I mentioned you don't have to be a lone wolf. Like you don't have to be a lone wolf. Like lean in for support, reach out for support. Even if that means just like decompressing with a friend at the end of a busy day, like lean in for support with your coaches, your mentors, your friends, your partners, your family, whoever it is that you call in for support. Number 3 is be undeniably devoted to your inner work, because this is the work that's going to help you shift into a state of conviction. This is the work that's going to help you shift into a state of absolute confidence that is going to be felt by your audience, by your ideal clients, by your future clients. It's going to be felt. It's the inner work that's going to help you create the outer result that you desire. The 4th thing I did and that I recommend you do is to identify and push through your self-imposed limitations. So wherever you experience resistance, question it. Ask yourself, why am I experiencing this resistance? What am I resisting right now? Identify what that self-imposed limitation is. And then once you identify what it is, it becomes easier to push through. And that's where you take the action to push through it. And then the 5th thing is honor your needs, no matter what. Whatever it is that you need, honor it. And so you need to be able to differentiate between when you need to push through because there's a limitation present, right? Or when you need to actually sit back and honor your needs because you're actually feeling depleted or you're actually truly exhausted. So make sure that you're doing those 5 things, and I can guarantee you're going to start to experience success in a different way, like success that feels good. The best part about this 25K month that I experienced in June, the best part wasn't the money, although the money is fucking amazing. I'm not going to lie. But the best part is that I called in incredible, it was 6, 7, 8 new clients who are so fucking aligned. Like 8 incredibly aligned clients that I am fucking obsessed with, that I am so honored to be serving, that I am so excited to serve. 8 new clients whose purposes and missions excite me. That is the best part of June. And it wouldn't have been possible to call those people in or to bring those people into my orbit if I hadn't done these 5 things. And I want that for you. Yes, I want you to increase your earning capacity, and I want you to take a stand for your fucking gifts. I want you to take a stand for your cause, and I want you to shift into a state of conviction so you can bring your ideal clients into your fucking orbit. That's what I want for you. So try out those steps for the month of July, okay? Try them out for the month of August and start to witness the shifts that you experience both internally and externally, okay? The internal shifts are just as important, if not more important than the external shifts, because the internal shifts are what's going to yield the external shifts. Now, if you dig what I'm saying, if you align with this type of strategy to create a successful month, and if you have a purpose that you are already leading, you're on a mission, you're doing the work, and you're really seeking to create a strong community within yourself, a support space, a collective of like minds, leaders just like you who are going after their dreams, and you're seeking to step into a space where you can start to embody your mission, step into that state of absolute conviction, and create these successful months while deepening your spiritual practice, I invite you to join me for the Activation Retreat, which is happening this September in Southern California. There are only a few seats remaining. This is a very, very intimate retreat experience. And if you know me, because you've listened to my podcast, you know that this is going to be something different. This isn't a retreat where I'm just going to throw a bunch of business strategy your way. This is far deeper than that. This is a retreat to help you be the leader that your mission needs you to be, so you can start going after that bigger vision that you have for yourself. If this calls to you, I'm telling you, apply today. Okay, apply today. The link is rubyfremon.com/activation-retreat, or just head to rubyfremon.com and click on Activation Retreat, which will be found at the top menu bar. Okay, so apply today. I'm looking to close enrollment next week. And like I said, there's only a handful of seats left. Thank you so much for joining me on another edition of Thursday's Thought on today's Thought Leader, where I am challenging you to rise up, speak up, and create a movement. Again, if the retreat calls to you, if you're looking for a community of like minds, if you're ready to step into a state of absolute fucking conviction and lead your purpose with more power, join me at the Activation Retreat. Whether you're a new listener or a loyal podcast listener, please be sure to download a few episodes and drop a rating and review on iTunes. And if you dig this episode, share it with a friend. And hit me up on social media. Let me know what your biggest insights were, or how you enjoyed this episode. I love hearing from you, and I feel like I don't hear from you enough. So reach out to me. And then, of course, check back on Monday for a brand new episode of Today's Thought Leader.